Welcome to a tempo storm analysis of the Wild Open qualifiers. Last week, hundreds of Wild players competed in multiple Swiss brackets for the chance to qualify for the Wild Open tournament, which will be held on March 31st in California. For these preliminary rounds, each region held 4 128-man Swiss brackets. For the first week, Asia had 148 people sign up, NA had 362, and Europe had a whopping 770. The brackets filled up on a first-come, first-served basis, and if there were extra players, they were put on a wait list. Out of each Swiss bracket, 8 players from each region qualified for the next round of the tournament. This meant that players needed to go 7-0 or 6-1. Due to dropouts throughout the bracket, often 1 or 2 players that went 5-2 qualified as well, picking the players with the best tiebreakers. These games were played in the new best-of-3 conquest format, where each competitor brings 3 decks of their choice. One of them is banned, and whoever defeats their opponent twice wins the match. The Swiss brackets were close, and the level of competition was fierce, with good players placing top 8, and a few missing the boat because of poor tiebreakers. Looking at the first NA bracket, we have notable Wild players qualify like Direst Bear, Almighty Yogg, Concerned Mom, and Hazer. Our own Chalky also qualified, bringing a very interesting lineup, which we'll touch on later. Just on the cusp of entering the bracket was Control and Danny Donuts, respectively the first and third players outside of top 8 based off tiebreakers. On the other NA bracket, notable players who qualified in the top 8 included ZT Dubs, Jonara, and Banana Ramek, the newest member of our Wild Meta Snapshot team. Slizzle466 was one of the notable Wild players who went 5-2 and was also slightly edged out by tiebreakers, coming in 12th overall. After the qualifiers, a knockout single elimination round was held to narrow the field of 16 per region down to a top 4, which will move on to the regional stage. For Week 1, the NA top 4 qualifiers were Jonara, Concerned Mom, Gozen, and Banana Ramek. For EU, the top 4 were Kex, Fisho, Filey, and CPW94, another one of our Wild Meta Snapshot writers. In Asia, Gur and Reno Jackson qualified. In Week 2, Sidonia, Rosti, Dab, and Breezy qualified for NA. Specialist, Scruffy, Luxus, and Alex MM for EU, and Maru, Toresk, Ray Pecco, and Capilano, the third and final Wild Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot writer to qualify. Congratulations to everyone who qualified. Now that we know who's moving on, let's look at what lineups and decks did well in the tournament. The lineup that's taking Twitter by storm is Chalky's, who brought 3 Naga Sea Witch decks. His Giants Hunter list is pretty standard as Giants Hunter lists go, but the Warlock and Paladin decks are off the wall. His Paladin deck uses a strong aggressive core that Dude Paladin runs and slots in the Naga and Giants package. This is highly irregular as this deck has seen no play at all on the Wild ladder up until this point. Maybe it's the sleeper deck that Wild meta couldn't figure out. His Giants Warlock list is very interesting as well because it includes Barnes and the Bloodbloom Doom combo. Danny did a bit of prep for the second week of the tourney, so we have an in-depth look at some of the strategies that worked for Week 1 of the tournament. Out of the 48 players who qualified for the first week, 12 brought Aggro Shaman, 12 brought Giants Lock, 11 brought Cube Lock, and 11 brought Secret Burn Mage. The trend seemed to drop down after this point, with different variations of Paladin, Priest, and Druid making up the majority of the rest of the deck lineups. Out of the 12 players who qualified for the regional round in Week 1, all of them brought a form of Priest, whether it be Big Priest or Combo Priest. 7 players brought Warlock, 6 brought Druid, 5 brought Mage, and 5 brought Paladin. Only Reno Jackson, the player, not the card, brought Warrior, and Banana Ramek brought Rogue. None of these players brought Shaman or Hunter, which is really surprising seeing how effective Shaman was in the preliminary brackets. This may be due to the ability to change deck lists between rounds. When playing in the Swiss bracket, you need decks that target the field well, but when playing in the elimination bracket, you can target a bit more efficiently due to knowing what your opponents brought last time around. With the second week recently finished, there was a significant increase in Cube Lock over Giants Lock lists played. This is most likely due to Cube Lock being able to beat aggro decks better than Giants Lock can, as the trio aggro lineups would often leave up Giants Warlock and hope to burn him out before they got a Giants or Demon turn. Additionally, many lineups were designed specifically to counter Giants Lock, and Cube Lock typically does better against decks that target Warlock better than Giants Lock does. There was a significant increase in aggressive lineups with players like Sidonia bringing Pirate Warrior, Recruit Paladin, and Aggro Shaman. Other aggressive lineups were formed as well, running other semi-aggressive decks like Rossi's lineup of Combo Priest, Burn Mage, and Murloc Paladin. Big Priest also made a resurgence, finding itself in 9 qualifiers decks the second time around. Overall, the first round of the Wild Open went extremely well, with a high barrier set for the rest of the event. This upcoming week will see the 8 qualifiers from each region play in a single elimination bracket to choose the top 2 players who will represent the region in the final event of the Wild Open. We are really excited to see the results in the weeks to come as we find out who will be crowned the Wild Champion of 2018 later this month. As always, please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and let us know who you think will win the Wild Open in the comments below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and stay up to speed with all of Tempo Storm's Hearthstone news and content. Thanks!